So the trailer for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness just came out, and I figured I would talk about some things looks like it's going on with it and kind of break it down just a little bit. I can't really do the in-depth details like other people can. But if you enjoyed this video today, feel free to like and subscribe for future Marvel content. So I will say as well, I will not go into any spoilers in this video, particularly for Spider-Man No Way Home. Because obviously Doctor Strange is in that movie, and Spider-Man No Way Home is the movie that's basically directly before Multiverse of Madness, but I will not talk about any spoilers regarding the plot of that movie.
Don't cast that spell. It's too dangerous. Why? We tampered with the stability of space-time. The multiverse is a concept about which we know frighteningly little. Your desecration of reality will not go unpunished.
So it looks like, though, the very beginning of the trailer, we have kind of like whispers in the background of dialogue from No Way Home. So we hear Wong telling him to not cast the spell to make people forget that he's Peter Parker. And again, this is just stuff we know from the trailers for No Way Home anyway. And then he talks about us tampering with the stability of space-time and stuff, and that how the multiverse is a concept of which we know frighteningly little. Obviously, all of that is from all the stuff we've seen in the trailers and stuff from No Way Home. But then it seems like we have a kind of whisper from Mordo, where he says, "Your desecration of reality will not go unpunished." I honestly have not watched the first Doctor Strange movie in a hot minute, so I'm unsure if that's specifically what Mordo said to him after using the Time Stone to stop the Dark Dimension from kind of overflowing Earth and stuff. It sounds like it would fit in with that. I just forget exactly if that was taken from Doctor Strange 1, but if it was, it does make sense. And then we see a fantastic shot of like a destroyed, snowy, broken down New York where like everything is melting and disintegrating away, almost as if the reality he's in is just disintegrating away. It does reminisce of the What If Doctor Strange episode where he messed with the point in time that wasn't supposed to be messed with or changed, and therefore it made everything melt away. I'm not entirely too sure if I would say this is the exact same thing, just because it looks slightly different. Like in the What If episode, it looks more gooey and liquidy, but in this, it looks more like actual disintegration, kind of like how the Thanos snap was with people. But either way, this shot is just gorgeous. Again, we also don't even know if he's in the main MCU continuity reality or not, or if he's just in another random multiversal New York, and that's what's happening. For all we know, honestly, he could actually be in the New York that this happened to in the What If episode because of what happened at the end of this trailer.
It was the only way. But I never meant for any of this to happen.
We then see him in like a super flooded sanctorum, almost as if one of the portals that lead to like different parts of the earth just kind of went haywire and either transported the sanctorum to one of those locations or just straight up flooded it. I'm more impartial to believe that sanctorum, either if this is a different universe or something, is just transported to that location, because it looks like there's like a wall busted open and it leads directly to the ocean. So, I mean, either way, I mean, all of the imagery that we've seen in this trailer so far is just absolutely beautiful, though. So then we get a couple of kind of flash shots of different characters. We see Wong, we see Doctor Strange, we see the Scarlet Witch's hand as she's getting ready to cast some magic. And then we see Christine Palmer on what appears to be her wedding day. Looks like obviously not getting married to Strange, because Strange is in the pews with all the other people. So that'll be interesting. I don't think that will be like a different reality. I think that's honestly the main MCU reality, and that might happen like towards the beginning of the movie or something like that. And maybe for some reason it might start off like the events of Multiverse of Madness, but either that, or it might be like a Nightmare sequence if we're to believe that Nightmare is the main villain of this movie still. Like, it was briefly mentioned. No, I shouldn't say briefly mentioned. I don't think the original director of Multiverse of Madness ever said that Nightmare was for sure the main villain. But I think he just had stated that he would like to see Nightmare as a villain, or he would be a cool villain. I don't think it was ever confirmed, but if it was like a Nightmare sequence, it would make sense, because obviously Strange is in love with Christine Palmer. So, and then the last kind of flash shot before the Marvel logo, we see someone kind of like, it's even really hard to describe, but almost like spinning inside like a blue like vortex, almost like jumping between universes, it looks like. But what's strange to me is that I can't fully make out who the person is, but to me it kind of looks like it's Caecilius, the villain in Doctor Strange 1. The ponytail kind of just makes it look like that. It looks like a white ponytail, and it looks like it's kind of similar getup that he wore in Doctor Strange 1. But I can't fully tell who it is. But either way, I mean, it's cool to see.
Wanda.
I knew sooner or later you'd show up. I made mistakes, and people were hurt.
I'm not here to talk about Westview.
Then what are you here for?
I need your help.
With what?
What do you know about the multiverse?
So then we see this interaction between Doctor Strange and Wanda. I wouldn't even begin to tell you where this is at. I don't know if this is like a safe space reality that Wanda made up for herself. It's just very kind of weird contrasting imagery, in my opinion. Like, you see all this kind of like very dark looking steampunky type settings in the beginning of the trailer and throughout the trailer, and then you just see, him interacting with Wanda in this big, bright, sunny open meadow. It's just very contrasting and very interesting to see. It's cool, but it's just kind of very weird, different contrast of imagery. Then we also have her mention that she thought that he was here because of Westview, so obviously that's the reference to WandaVision. I think probably that's going to be like the biggest reference we get to WandaVision, maybe outside of her kids potentially being in this movie in a different multiverse. I'm honestly not too sure on that front. But he says that he needs her help, and then asks her what she knows about the multiverse. Now, what's interesting about this is he's not coming after her as an antagonist in this moment in the movie. So it's what happened to make him need her help with the multiverse. That's kind of the big question that I have. So then we see Strange step through a floating door with America Chavez and Wanda behind him. Now, we also saw a brief look at America Chavez and like the flashes of imagery before the Marvel logo. She was wearing the vest with the star on her back. So America Chavez is like a multiversal Avenger, so it makes sense for her to be in this movie. It's also cool that they are choosing to introduce her in this movie as well. So it looks like where they're going, though, might potentially be the Utopian parallel. I'm not entirely too sure. It could also just be a space between different multiverses and such, but that is what the Utopian parallel is in the comics. So the Utopian parallel is where America Chavez is actually from, and it's kind of like an area outside of the multiverses and stuff like that. So if it's going to go into any type of backstory for America Chavez at all, it would make sense for this to be the Utopian parallel, and it just kind of looks. It kind of looks, kind of utopian in a sense, the way the imagery is presented with itself. Like, it's kind of like awe-inspiring the way it looks.
I'm sorry, Stephen. I hope you understand. The greatest threat.
So then we get some brief interaction with Doctor Strange and Mordo. Where Mordo's apologizing. I don't know why he would be doing that. Probably because he's probably about to kill Doctor Strange because, too many sorcerers or whatever. So he's apologizing for having to do that, or some cheesy line like that maybe. But we see kind of like a cloud of smoke come over Kamartaj. And then we see a look at the Scarlet Witch in what looks like... So it looks like kind of a getup very, very similar to what we saw WandaVision end with her costume, but it does look kind of it also looks different at the same time. It's the same type of scarlet red color and the same type of concept, but it just does look ever so slightly different. Like, from what I remember about WandaVision's was more kind of like like she had a nice flowing cape. It was more flamboyant, and almost what she's wearing in the trailer here kind of looks more combat ready. Like, I don't see like the cape on her or anything. The outfit itself looks a lot more sleek. She still has the red scarlet crown and stuff like that. And then we see kind of a brief fight between Mordo and Doctor Strange, which, I mean, especially with how Doctor Strange 1 ended, it wasn't far-fetched to assume that that's what was going to happen. I still don't know how much of an antagonistic figure Mordo will be. I don't know if he'll, like, change sides eventually. Like, he'll be an antagonist and then he'll flip-flop and then he'll help Doctor Strange against whatever the main antagonist would be for this movie. I'm not entirely sure, but it wasn't far-fetched to believe that there was going to be a fight between them anyway.
To our universe.
So then we see Wong get messed up a little bit, and Doctor Strange casts a couple of cool spells. I wouldn't be able to tell you what spells these are supposed to be based off of in the comics, but I mean, they look cool. I mean, I'm with it. But I mean, then the next one. So originally, I thought this was Shumagorath, and I mean, honestly, it basically is, more or less, it looks like, because I mean, they look practically the same. But it probably is more likely that this monster that he's fighting in the street is Gargantos, if we're basing it off of the toy leaks that have happened recently. And Gargantos is just more or less a sea monster, which could coincide with the water at the beginning of the trailer that leaks into the Sanctum Sanctorum and stuff like that. But honestly, I mean, I think Shumagorath will still show up in the film, but it might get a little confusing because, in my opinion, Shumagorath and Gargantos look very, very, very similar. Like, they're tentacle monsters with the eye in the center. But I do think that now is probably Gargantos, if we're to believe the toy leaks that had Gargantos on it.
Is you.
Things just got out of hand.
So then in the last scene, we get Strange Supreme, I think it was his name, in What If. We get a What If crossover, it appears, I should say, where evil Doctor Strange is face-to-face with the Doctor Strange we're familiar with, and then he says, things just got out of hand. Now, I am still curious as to what role Strange Supreme is going to play. I mean, it looks like they're setting him up to be an antagonistic figure, but that's not really who Strange Supreme was at the end of What If. He helped at the end of What If, and the way he says things just got out of hand, unless that was just a line specifically for the trailer, it's almost as if our version of Doctor Strange is going to him for potentially help. So who really knows with that, but if it is Strange Supreme, like from What If, and we got that What If crossover, it opens the door up for a bunch of different crossovers from What If. We could potentially get Captain Carter, Ultron Vision, Black Panther, Killmonger. We could get a bunch, so that's what makes it exciting as well. But I mean, even the imagery in this last scene is breathtaking. I can't wait for Multiverse of Madness. It is my most anticipated movie for next year. So I'm honestly, I can't wait for another trailer as well. So that about wraps up everything that I could talk about in this video. So comment down below if you're hyped for Multiverse of Madness, and then feel free to like and subscribe for future Marvel content. I appreciate you for watching the video.